fortunate enough that I never took an interest in anything Disney's animation as a kid, and I was obsessed, like really obsessed with cartoons as a kid. There are a few exceptions, of course: Phineas and Ferb, Big Hero 6, Bambi, The Emperor's New Groove. Otherwise, I was way more into Cartoon Network. But it really saddens me how Disney is treating their IP as something as shameful and dated, even when it's what makes them money. But somehow people still watch them either due to nostalgia or because animation is for kids. It's also very infuriating to me that people still coming into theaters to watch them no matter how predictable, repetitive, cliche, or even controversial they're becoming. I could have made a top 10 Disney live action remakes cliches that drives me up the wall, but fellow YouTuber Character-in-depth already made a similar video about that, particularly for the Little Mermaid remake, which by the way, give him a follow. He's passionate about what he does, and his videos are interesting. Anyways, instead of a top 10 Disney's live action remakes cliches that drives me up the wall, I'm going to make a top 10 live action remakes that I, personally, do not want, while drawing animals semi-realistically with some sketches I pre-made in advance so that I don't have to take so much storage. And I'm ranking them based on the worst change they could do. I'm setting rules for myself thanks to my limited knowledge of Disney, which are listing the movies that I actually watch, has to be strictly animated movies, has to be either Disney or Disney and Pixar, but not Pixar. Let's get started. Starting with number 10, Pocahontas. Personally, I'm not really attached to the movie in general, but I got nice things to say. The animation is gorgeous. I like the song, Colors of the Wind. Pocahontas feels like a refreshing take of a strong woman, unlike the repetitive, cute, clumsy, adorable girls that's been constantly happening. The movie ends with Pocahontas and John going separate ways, but it feels genuine and satisfying, unlike how modern Disney has been doing it. The message is about racism and how it's not one-sided, but the way they handle it feels so cheap, underwhelming, and flat that I believe that's the reason why it bombed at the box office. At least it became a cult classic and has a small fandom. What kind of changes would Disney make for Pocahontas? Honestly, I don't know. I imagine that Disney would do something similar with the Mulan remake. Remember when they were promoting it by saying that they're gonna make it more authentically Chinese, only for the movie itself to be anything but that, and offending Chinese people? They're probably gonna do something like that by claiming they're gonna make Pocahontas more historically accurate, only for the movie to prove that they didn't do any research about the real-life Pocahontas, taking even more liberties than what the movie did, and maybe offending Native American people. If Disney were to do that, I think the worst thing they could do is sugarcoating how far what the real-life Pocahontas did in order to protect her people. I'm literally doing my own research while writing the script, and it looks like Pocahontas is willing to do anything for her tribe. Of course, though, I'm not a Native American, or a historian for that matter. I don't want to speak for them. I would rather have an actual native have their take on the worst scenario of what change Disney would do. Though, considering how and why the movie flopped, we don't have to worry about a possible live-action remake of Pocahontas anytime soon. And if they did, it's probably going to be as forgettable as number 9, The Aristocats. I grew up with The Aristocats. I have it on DVD and watched it tons of times as a kid. It's about a cat named Duchess and her kittens, Marie, Berlioz, and Toulouse, living with their rich owner until the butler Edgar decides to get rid of the cats, only for him to lose them, and now the cats are on a journey to get back home with some help from another cat named Thomas. The movie is nothing to write home about, except for Marie, who is the most recognizable characters of the movie that I bet you guys didn't know what I'm talking about until I mentioned her. To be honest, I don't know the message of the story, but at least I know the themes of it, which is friendship, and how they will look out and help one another. So what would be the worst change Disney could do? I wanted to say to have Duchess to be more independent by doing everything herself, and not having a romantic interest with Tom. But I think the worst change they will do is exaggerate Edgar as a villain. Edgar may be an idiot, such as not realizing that he's going to be the trustee of the fortune for the cats. Sure, his boss favors her cats over him, which makes him fairly sympathetic, but Edgar still kidnapped the cats for the fortune, and went as far as sending them to Timbuktu. That's enough to qualify him as a bad guy. Disney, if they will ever do it, are going to exaggerate his role by having an evil laugh, giggling at his boss's panic when she learns that her cats went missing, and I don't know, have him try to kill the cats? On paper that would be intense, but when done wrong, it's going to be laughable. They're also gonna have the animals in CGI, which is going to be as laughable. But I don't think it's going to have much of an uncanny effect unless it's... Number 8. The Emperor's New Groove. I was obsessed with The Emperor's New Groove when I was a kid, and I would watch it repeatedly at any chance I got. The movie is about a spoiled, narcissistic emperor named Cusco who gets turned into a llama by the Chancellor Yzma and her assistant Krunk. After Cusco gets lost, a villager named Pacha helps him to get him back home. The themes are about being nice to other people, and the more you put yourself first, the more people you push them away. The movie was a box office bomb, but like Pocahontas, it became a cult classic thanks to its comedy and the villains, especially Krunk. But I don't think the live-action remakes want a light-hearted comedy movie. They want a dark and edgy movie with emotional moments, which will be the worst change they could do with The Emperor's New Groove. Doing so would be like turning the adorable, pink puffy Kirby into an edgelord with blood all over him. Doesn't it sound laughable to you? Because it will if Disney decides to remake New Groove. While New Groove doesn't take it so seriously, it still has a message they want to carry, and they did it well. Not perfect, but fairly decently. It's about Cusco, a narcissist, learning how to be a better person. That's his character arc, and it ages well. I don't trust what Disney is going to do with the message. They could either change but make it feel so cheap, or keep it and fumble it. Neither of those are good options, and don't get me started on the idea of a CGI llama. A talking llama. I don't want to think about it. It sounds so creepy. But hey, at least there's gonna have visuals that can translate okay in live action. But I can't say the same thing as... Number 7. Wreck-It Ralph. Wreck-It Ralph is about a video game villain named Ralph, who is actually not a bad guy. But he still gets undervalued by the fellow NPCs, the Nicelanders, that he eventually gets up with it and decides to venture out his own game to get himself a medal. When he did, he lost it thanks to a girl named Vanellope, which they both agreed to a deal. Meanwhile, Ralph's, for lack of a better word, co-worker, Felix, has to find him while having a romantic relationship with the toughest nails NPC from another video game, Sergeant Calhoun. I watched it in theaters when I was 11 with my older sister. I loved it back then, and my sister thinks it's cute. The main message is about having friends who appreciate you for you. Ralph wants to be appreciated by his home, but learn to be appreciated and valued from Vanellope. Is it memorable? No. But it's still an enjoyable movie with cute and funny moments that you can watch with your friends, or just want to unwind and have something simple to watch. So what could Disney ruin it? I want to say to have Ralph and Vanellope split apart and never see each other again. But Wreck-It Ralph 2 already did that. My only guess is that they make the characters more nastier and unreasonable. They could make Vanellope a spoiled brat instead of a lovable scamp who wants to race. Calhoun is tough as nails, but she's smart, devoted, fearless, caring, and has a tragic backstory that gives more depth that may explain why she's so tough. Remake Calhoun could be a flat, unlikable character who doesn't appreciate Felix's feelings for her. Felix has an important role where he has to find Ralph before the arcade opens. The remake could make him a useless simp who didn't do anything. I don't know what they're gonna do with Ralph, but I don't trust Disney to make him any better than what the sequel did. And I'm just guessing about the characters. I haven't even started on the visuals, and I just know it's gonna be ugly. You know how the Snow White remake used CGI to make the dwarves? Only for them to come out as the ugliest characters ever since Ugly Sonic? Well, I imagine they're gonna do the same thing with Ralph and Vanellope. In case you guys don't know what Ralph and Vanellope looks like, here. As you can see, Ralph is basically a shape of a brick, and Vanellope has a chibi-esque design. The idea of having their designs translating into real-life CGI is unnerving to me. I don't want Ralph's designs translated into realism, and Vanellope is going to look like a big-headed alien than an actual human child. Do you guys want that? Do you really want that? Because I don't. But it can't be worse than... Number 6. Tangled. To be honest, I haven't watched Tangled in such a long time that I don't have attachment to it unless I watch it again. I don't think I can say anything about Rapunzel and Flynn other than ruining the chemistry and funny moments between them. But there's someone in the movie that I can't talk about that I would absolutely hate if Disney were to change them. Mother Gothel. I love Mother Gothel as a villain. She feels like an accurate depiction of an abusive parent, but she's also relatable at the same time by being obsessed with staying beautiful and young again. It just makes you want to punch her in the face for being that relatable, but vile. She kidnapped Rapunzel as a baby just for that, thanks to her hair. Gothel raised her, but she always treated Rapunzel like an object. She doesn't care about Rapunzel's feelings. She only cares about her hair. She always discouraged her from thinking for herself. She's willing to murder Flynn because she knows he's a threat to her by releasing Rapunzel free. If there's people who genuinely believe that Gothel is a caring mother who just takes things too extreme, which, first off, does everything I just listed are what a good parent would do? Second, if you guys are gonna keep on thinking that she's a good parent, then Disney might make her one for all the wrong reasons. Making Gothel one of the good guys? Fine, but there's no way she's still going to be the main villain. If you guys don't know where I'm getting at, I think the worst change they're gonna make is watering down Gothel's abusive tendencies. I don't know how, but it's all because they don't want to scare the kids. That's going to offend actual abuse survivors. People don't understand or what makes an abuser abusive, and they grossly underestimate how difficult it is to get out of it. If people were to watch the movie, possible remake that is, and think it's as easy as walking away, then what are the actual survivors gonna think and feel? Please note, I'm not an actual abuse survivor, nor am I speaking for them. They're more than capable of speaking for themselves, and my knowledge on abuse is very basic. They also probably gonna have Gothel run away and disappear instead of being aged up into dust, killing her. That would be really weak, especially when the original had it coming. And YouTube, please leave me alone. My channel is not meant for kids, it's for general audiences, and that includes adults. And kids can handle dark and heavy topics, and you can educate them about those topics, including abuse. I just hope Gothel's quote-unquote death isn't as weak and cheap as... Number 5. Big Hero 6. Big Hero 6 was almost the gateway for me to the Disney movies. Keyword almost. Big Hero 6 is about a 14-year-old robotics prodigy hero discovers that his brother's death from the fire was not an accident, and his latest invention was stolen. So he went out to find the perpetrator with some help from his brother's friends, and his robot Baymax, a personal healthcare companion, by forming a superhero team. The movie isn't anything new nor special or in general unique. In fact, it's a pretty cliche superhero movie. But it earned its popularity with its diverse characters, funny moments, tear-jerking scenes, realistic settings, and a message about death, loss, and moving forward that's handled in a gentle and sincere way. That's basically everything that remakes want to be, but aren't. I think the worst change they could do is make Tadashi, the brother, disappear instead of having him die in the fire. That's gonna change the whole story, where they're gonna have heroes search for him with Baymax's scanner. Who knows if the game will still gonna join in and be superheroes. To be honest, I don't think it's a bad change, at least on paper. It only depends on the writing and how they approach it. Then again, turning a superhero movie into a mystery movie sounds pretty jarring to me. Would Tadashi be the perpetrator for the fire and stole Hiro's invention? Was he actually kidnapped by the true perpetrator and was doing his bidding against his will? Were those just ideas we got from fanfics? Yes. If they're actually gonna use those ideas, then it won't be the worst change, but the most laughable choice. Can you imagine a company using fanfiction ideas for a remake based on a beloved property? I'm no writer, but isn't one of the rules of writing not to give the fans what they want? If Disney were to do that, then you know how hard and bad they're trying to pander to fans. Just thinking about it makes me giggle. I don't know if this section should be in this place, but it's pathetic enough to deserve it. Just because it's just that low. If they were to reveal Tadashi to be dead all along as a plot twist, then it would save the movie. But no, that's not modern Disney's way. They're too chicken to have an actual character to die unless it's a villain. Even when a nice character's death leaves an impact on both the story and the audience. Speaking of dead characters, number 4, Bambi. I didn't get a chance to watch Bambi as a kid until my earlier 20s. I don't know its themes and message, but there's such an immeasurable charm to the movie that can get me to watch it repeatedly. According to Doug Walker, aka the nostalgia critic, Snow White is supposed to be an emotional storytelling, as in, it's supposed to make you think emotionally. Why the nostalgia critic in Snow White all of a sudden? Well, since Snow White is supposed to be an emotional storytelling, I thought Bambi is supposed to be an emotional storytelling too. That explains why the mom's death is so famous. Too bad the remakes don't know how to make an emotional storytelling. CGI animals aside, if I could name the least offensive change, it would be changing Flower the skunk into a girl. Yes, Flower is a boy. I mean, who didn't think Flower is a girl? Gender swapping Flower will be at least understandable, even if it's not for the right reasons. But the worst change will be to have a preachy message about the environment and have the hunter a sociopath. The hunter in the animation was never shown on screen, and he's just that, a hunter. As someone who watched the movie once, there's no indication nor themes about the environment. It's just a bunch of woodland critters. The remake could have a quote-unquote smart approach by having Bambi adventuring out in the woods with his friends, only to have to go through some quote-unquote scary moments like having the humans start a fire, or cutting down the trees and have Bambi learn to take courage against the humans. And I want to make this clear. Having a message about the environment isn't bad. It's only when it's preachy, cheap, or even hypocritical that's gonna be the problem. And I'm pretty sure that despite making an environmental message, Disney will end up being hypocritical by making a movie that's gonna harm the environment, like using AI. I don't want to end up coming up with controversial takes. That's its own kind of worms. Regardless of how the movie is made, it's not gonna be the same as the original. Much less with number 3, Meet the Robinsons. Before we get to the topic, I want to say that drawing a prehistoric animal was a learning curve. Like, I couldn't get the T-Rex right. and I ended up looking up for tutorials before using references again. For those who are dino experts, you have my respect. Also, my critter brushes got lost somehow during that time, so I was making up some skills. Anyways, Meet the Robinsons is about an orphan named Lewis who wants to have a family, but then meets a kid named Wilbur from the future who took him to his era, while a guy and his hat, Doris, are chasing Lewis down. The message is about learning from your mistakes and keep moving forward, and family doesn't have to be blood related. Besides wanting to have a family, Lewis wants to be an inventor, but goes through all sorts of failures to the point where he gets frustrated and nearly gives up. He learned to overcome those from his time-traveling adventure with Wilbur. Keep moving forward is actually a motto that Walt Disney, the founder, applies to himself and to his industry, something that Meet the Robinsons applied in its message, making it one of the most underrated Disney movies ever. Say what you will about Walt. Maybe he is anti-Semitic. Maybe he is sexist. Maybe he is a racist. But you cannot deny that he's passionate about what he does: animation, storytelling, and art. In fact, one of his famous lines is, "I don't make movies to make money. I make money to make movies." Something that modern Disney doesn't understand nor want to understand. Everything they do goes against everything Walt does or is passionate about, and they're gonna have Meet the Robinsons backwards. I think the worst change they could do is to have Lewis to be successful in his inventions. No exploding, no malfunctions, no failures, and only went to the future because he's not satisfied with his inventions. Maybe the other worst change will be to still have Lewis have successful inventions until recently they were failing, and later in the movie reveals that it turns out Doris has been sabotaging them. Doesn't it sound underwhelming and cheap? Where's the journey? Where's the character development? Where's the arc? The second worst change they could do is to have Lewis not be adopted because independent. Doesn't it sound like Disney using the criticism about them and parroting it? The whole point of the movie is Lewis accepts failure and uses them to learn to achieve success and move on from his life. Doesn't the message sound relevant to you? Because it is. Seriously, the remakes have potential to make good movies with messages that could have been relevant right now, but no. They always ruined it by making the original's messages backwards. A Meet the Robinsons movie remake could have been relevant today when done right because of what people are like nowadays. And considering the remake's track record, I don't trust Disney with this movie, much less with Number 2! Zootopia! I think we all know what's gonna happen if Zootopia were to have its own live-action remake. I mean, do I have to explain it? The idea of having the entire animal cast to be realistic will be watching a movie where all the characters are ugly Sonics. Unlike Ugly Sonic, he never came to be thanks to the backlash from the internet calling him, well, ugly. But if it weren't for that backlash, we wouldn't get the most adorable version of Sonic ever, with 2 more movies that came out, and the 4th one on its way. They delayed the Snow White remake for rewrites thanks to Rachel Zegler's big mouth, but they didn't bother to delay it again to fix the dwarves. Remember, Disney can hire little people to play the dwarves, and the little people community weren't happy about it. Playing the CGI dwarves, that is. If I had to come up with a guess, I think the worst change will be making Judy a Mary Sue, again, like with Mulan. Or at least not make Judy a hypocrite. I know Judy is reckless and sometimes doesn't think, but I think her worst flaw is her hypocrisy because it has more of an impact on others. Judy insisted that all animals should be treated equally, but she's proven to be an example of racism isn't what you are, is what you do. For example, she tried to intimidate Mr. Big and Arctic Shrew horribly underestimating the power he has as a mafia boss. And she and Nick are only lucky to be spared because Judy saved his daughter. When she was talking about the press about the missing animal case, where they're all predators who's gone savage, Judy jumped to conclusions that the predators are reverting to their primitive savage ways. Why? Because it's in their biology. And it's not like a bunny can go savage. For those who watch Zootopia, you should know that Judy doesn't know the reason why the predators are going savage, and she herself thinks it's the case. Those conclusions not only causes the prey to fear predators dividing Zootopia, they hurt Nick, her friend, who's a fox. Yes, it's a horrible thing for a protagonist to do, but it serves its purpose for the story of how her actions have consequences and how they affect other people. And it feels so real. It's supposed to make you feel horrible, to make you think as a person and how to do better. Disney isn't going to make her a hypocrite, even when it's nuanced. They're gonna get rid of her flaws just so the parents wouldn't complain how bad role model Judy is. Which, first off, I don't remember hearing angry parents complaining about how reckless and hypocritical Judy is throughout the movie when it was released. And second, having a character with no flaws doesn't make an interesting character. It's boring and it leaves them no room to grow as a character, nor will it make the audience think. It's the reason why Remake Mulan is so hated. She's perfect to the point of being boring, where she doesn't learn anything, and making her utterly offensive to women. If Disney were to make Judy and Mary Sue, it would be infuriating just as much as making a live-action version of Number 1, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. The Hunchback of Notre Dame is a type of movie that nobody realizes needed to watch and learn. It tackles all sorts of messages, including but not limited to prejudice, racism, ableism, corruption, assault, and of course, religion. Yes, you heard that right, and it's Disney's darkest film ever. It's also a musical, and they're absolute bangers. Hellfire is my favorite song in the movie, and I think it's so dark that I bet it can compete with The Lion King's Be Prepared. I just love how it tackles its themes, and the characters are so likable. Quasimodo, the protagonist, is born deformed with a hunchback, but he's innocent, friendly, timid, selfish, and eventually grew a spine. Esmeralda is so empowering as a woman. She's tough, clever, strong, resourceful, and kind-hearted, with a strong sense of justice, but not perfect. She has trust issues, especially with people with power, but she learns to overcome those thanks to her boyfriend, Phoebus. Phoebus is such a good role model for boys. He's a handsome war veteran turned captain of the guard, but he's righteous, smart, caring, and genuinely wants to do what's best for other people. He has power, but he never abuses it, nor misuses it. He treated Esmeralda like a person, not an object to objectify, nor an angel to worship. Just a person, nothing more and nothing less. And I can't forget about Judge Claude Frollo. He's the scariest and realistic villain I know. He's not a supernatural creature, nor the devil himself. He's a corrupt, racist minister who abuses his power to execute Romani people because he believes he's doing God's will. He has a passionate lust for Esmeralda, despite the fact that she's A Romani woman, and B, young enough to be her daughter or granddaughter. He's so corrupted and hypocritical that he won't take criticism for his actions, even when he's violating the rules, whether it's from Paris or from God. Now take those characters and make them the opposite of what makes them so likable, or in Frollo's case, an amazing villain. Modern Disney is gonna do just that. Make the characters backwards of what they were. Quasimodo is gonna be a massive idiot that sins for Esmeralda, and if not, creeps on her. Esmeralda is just gonna be a tough girl and nothing else, and doesn't end up with anybody. Phoebus is gonna be a coward who's just following orders, and Frollo is gonna be less of a corrupted minister and more of a well-intentioned extremist with a with a redemption arc, or just an underwhelming villain in general. They're gonna get rid of the religious themes of the film, or at least water it down. I don't know if the original book, where the movie is based on, is religious, but I can't help but compare it to 2025's Animal Farm. For those who don't know, Animal Farm is a novel about the Russian Revolution, but with farm animals. It got an animated movie in 1954 where, I kid you not, was funded by the CIA. Recently, it got another movie, but the political aspects of what makes Animal Farm are removed because the writers don't want to make it too political. I hope Disney thinks Hunchback is too dark to be remade into live action and remembers it as a flop. Otherwise, I wouldn't understand. Not only is it unnecessary, Hunchback has a Broadway show. Isn't it a little more live action? Just why? And that's my top 10 Disney live action remakes that I don't want. So what makes me want to do this video? Well, ever since the Lilo and Stitch remake made $1 billion, I feel bitter that anyone is willing to watch anything that's nostalgic or what's visually nice on the eyes, even if it means watching something that goes against what the originals are about, or even unintentionally supporting what shouldn't be supported, like propaganda. I've been holding on to those feelings for some time, so I thought letting those feelings loose in a video. I thought if I point out what kind of changes Disney repeatedly makes for their future remakes, it would make people think twice before watching. Because the more remakes they make, the more predictable and offensive they become, and they don't deserve the money. They don't even feel fresh nor original, not to mention that while there are some people working hard to make these movies, it doesn't make up for the creative laziness and the lack of respect for what the original movies gave. I know I can't convince everyone to stop watching the remakes, and they're probably gonna tell me that I don't know for sure, and I'm just being a hater. But I'll tell them this. Okay, maybe everything I said won't happen. We don't know for sure. But if they still turn out bad and boring, remember, I warned you guys. Anyways, what do you guys think of my first top 10 video? Did I misplace something? Thank you so much for watching. It took much longer to make than I thought it would be. Let me know in the comments, and I hope you guys have a nice day. Take care. Bye. I'm literally doing my own research while or cutting down the trees and have baby. I said baby. Successful, but she Judy jumped to the conclusion. Judy jumped to a conclusion of a Rolrado, Molra.